Group coaching programs are amazing. As the coach, they allow you to support a lot more people and grow your income while being even more efficient with your time. On the flip side, though, you have to be aware of how you're going to be able to manage a larger group so that you don't become overwhelmed and stressed out and are still able to deliver amazing support and help your clients get awesome results, because otherwise it's not going to be good for your business. So today I'm going to share with you the main areas to think through and set up so that you are setting up your group program for success. And what I'm going to be sharing with you is from my own experience running group programs, anywhere from just a few handful of people to at one time about 300 to 400 at the max. So a good range of experience for you. And if you're new here, I'm Luisa Zhou. This channel is all about helping you build your own business so that you're able to create true freedom, impact, and abundance. With that, let's jump right into the areas that you want to set up before you start your group program. Now, if you already have your group program going, that's totally fine. These things are things that you can start tweaking ASAP so that it becomes just even more enjoyable and manageable for you. So the first area that you need to think through is what is going to be the actual promise of your group program, and how is the delivery of that program going to match the promise. So what I mean by that is a common mistake is that a lot of people, when they're transitioning into group programs from one-on-one coaching, is that they will just think, okay, my group program is just me delivering one-on-one coaching now in a group. That is one way to do it. If that is the promise of your group program, then yes, absolutely you should. But for a lot of people, what they're really wanting to do is to move more into like a course type format where everyone goes through the same course content and modules, and then they're able to get some extra support in a group setting like a forum and group coaching calls. And so if that's the case, the promise for that type of program is not that it's going to be one-on-one coaching in a group setting. It's that you're going to get the support you need and the content that you need, but it is very much a different type of relationship than a one-on-one coaching relationship. And so what you want to get clear on, I'm going to give you some questions to help you think through this and define this, because what that's going to do is it's going to help make it a lot easier for you to market and sell your program, because it's going to be very clear what the promise is and what the container is. And it's going to be very easy for you to deliver on that so that your clients feel like what they got matched what they expected, and they're able to use it to get the best results. And then you're able to scale it and everybody wins. So the questions that I would think through are, first of all, what is the depth that you're going to go into for customization? That's the biggest difference along the spectrum of one-on-one in a group setting to a course with some group support for where your program is going to lie. Let me give you an example. So a mistake I made when I was running one of my first bigger group programs, I think maybe there was somewhere between like 100 to 200 people in there, was that I did this exact thing. I thought, I'm just going to give everyone the best support possible, and I'm going to review every single thing they have just as if they were one-on-one clients, because I want them to get the best results and everyone is going to love it. So one of the things that I teach in that program specifically is how to set up and write your website. So that includes writing a homepage, an about page, a landing page, a work with me page. And so guess what I did? I told everybody who joined the group program, I'm going to review all of your pages in detail, just as I would for a one-on-one client. So come that module time and review time, I had to sit down and review over 100 different websites, each website having multiple pages. You can bet after that, I was ready to just say, I'm never doing that again. Let me clarify in the future what the promise of this group program is. And if I am going to still deliver that, I'm going to need to do this differently, which we'll talk about later on in this video. And so understanding, okay, what do people actually need to get results, and what is the spectrum? So for example, in that case, what I ended up doing in the future is I said, okay, you don't need me to review every single sentence of your website to succeed. What you do need is you need the structure, which is going to be in the course content for templates to follow, best practices, and examples. That doesn't need me to do any extra coaching. And what you're also going to get is the ability to ask me questions that are very pointed, like, hey, I am wanting to do this on my homepage. What do you think? Can you help me with this one sentence that I'm really stuck with? Things like that, which is much easier for me to answer and helps people get the best results still, versus I'm going to sit down and spend so much time reviewing every single person's website. So understanding the depth that you need to go to and what's fair, what's appropriate for that setting, that is the most important piece. That way you're not going to find yourself over-promising, especially in your sales process, that, hey, you're going to get this, this, and this, and then people expect so much more support than they are able to get. And there are mismatched expectations. So the promise has to be in integrity and give people what they need so that the delivery can match that, so that it's sustainable and doable and scalable for you. Then I would also think through, okay, what is it that you are going to answer, the depth that you're going to answer in, because those are two different areas. One of the most common areas that I see new coaches struggle with in a group program is how much detail they spend answering questions. So to give you another example, one of my clients that's coming to mind helps people build their own real estate portfolio because he himself has built an amazing six-figure portfolio. And so what he was doing initially was, in his program, he was doing the review for every single person's potential investment. He was going to the he was looking at the property. So he wasn't going to it physically if it wasn't around him, but he was looking at the property. He was analyzing all the deals. He was helping them look for loans. He was basically doing all the work for them. That was not the promise of the program, and that was not necessary for his clients to succeed either. But because he hadn't gotten clear on this question beforehand, he found himself being really overwhelmed and maxed out at just a few clients, so that he was like, I don't even know how I can scale this. And he wanted, 100 people in his program, so he needed to figure something out. And so with that, it's about understanding, okay, how in-depth am I going to answer? And then what's that fine line between when I answer something and when I tell the client, hey, you need to go review this piece of content, or you need to go do this in more detail yourself and then come back to me and I'm happy to provide feedback. The area where people really struggle with this is because it feels like, oh my gosh, am I not providing support if I don't just answer the question in depth? No. As long as, again, you make clear the promise of your program so that at the end, your clients are able to come in, get exactly what they expected and get amazing results, then there's no mismatch and you're able to refer back to that consistently throughout the entire delivery of your program as well. So that is the two areas that are super, super important. Now, what I like to do personally that's really helpful for me is that what I'll do is I'll usually, when a new client joins a group program, I will have an in-depth welcome questionnaire that gives me all the details I need to know about their situation pertaining to what I do. That way, I will review all the questionnaires before the program, or if it's an ongoing program, before that person starts, and I will have a pretty clear idea of what's going on with them. That way, if they ask a question, I already know, okay, this is the context for this person's question, and I'm able to answer a really customized question really quickly. It can just be a few sentences, but because I know the specifics of their details, it's a lot more potent. And then what I'll do is, with that little bit of customization, I'm then able to direct people to the existing content that is in the course or program so that I don't have to do any additional teaching. So I can say, hey, I know this is your specific area. Based on knowing your industry and having helped a lot of people in it, I would go review this content and pay special attention to this module. So do you see how that's a fine line where you're really giving customized support, but you're doing it in a way that is scalable and leverages your existing content because that's what you need. That's how you create the best mix of having really customized coaching in a group program and having people love it and feel like it's so personalized, because it is, but also doing it in a way that's scalable and feels good to you as well. So that's the first piece. What's the promise? How are you going to match the delivery to that promise so that it's a win-win for you and for your clients? The second piece, which I hinted at earlier, is, okay, getting clear on what is the actual structure or system that you are walking people through. To be able to succeed in selling a group program and scaling it to any degree, you've got to have that. It can't just be a mishmash of one-on-one customized group coaching where every call is different. And what you're going to notice, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. I've helped people in industries as quote unquote intangible as like energy healing and confidence coaching. So no matter what industry you're in, you're going to have some sort of system so that you're going to notice, hey, okay, usually I help people do this first, and then we do this, and then we do this, and then there's a pattern. And understanding that pattern is going to be really key to being able to scale your program, because then you're going to understand, okay, what are the steps that someone goes through? It's usually always the same steps. Sometimes people might need to spend a little bit more time on a certain step, or they're able to move faster through another step because of their specific situation. That's totally fine, but the steps remain the same and the order remains the same. Where do people usually get stuck? What are their questions usually? Where do they need a little bit of customization? So when you understand all of these things, you're able to provide that additional support like we just talked about, while still having that structure, which does the heavy lifting for you, so that it becomes like an 80-20 breakout. 80% of the work is done by the pre-existing content and system that you've already created in like that course teaching program. Then the remaining 10 to 20% is the customization that helps people really get that extra boost in their results and love your program and see the value, while it's still a very doable amount of time for you. So you've got to have that and think that through. Chances are pretty good, if you've worked with at least a handful of clients, you already know what this structure is. So you just have to sit down and think it through a little bit. So that's area number 2. Area number 3 is, how are you going to set aside time to personally support this program? Because what I see is that for a lot of coaches who are relatively new to group programs, or maybe not that new and still struggling to figure out how to do it, it ends up taking over their life. It's like, oh my God, I have to review everybody's stuff. I have to do this all the time. I'm in there all the time, and I'm not able to really do anything else. That's not the goal here. Remember, we talked about all the benefits of group coaching. That's not a benefit. And so the advice I have for you is twofold. The first piece is very tactical. And the way I think about it is kind of like working out or brushing your teeth or eating a meal. You set aside time for it. It is non-negotiable that it's going to get done. There's no drama about it. You're not like, oh my gosh, I have to brush my teeth. This sucks. How am I going to find time for it? It's just a non-negotiable in your mind. And so you have the time for it, and then you go out there and do it. I would think about this in the same way. It's just like a daily thing, maybe Monday through Friday, or however many times a week that you are in your program or supporting your clients. And that is the time set aside for that, and that is what it is. So for me, for example, when I was running really large group programs, it would be one of the first things I did in the morning, where I would start my day. Maybe I'd write my newsletter for the day, and then I would hop into the group. And during that time, sometimes it would just be a few minutes, sometimes it would be 30 minutes or an hour long, and I would have a good feel. Usually it would max out at about an hour, and often it was way less. Then I would just say, okay, this is all I'm going to be doing. This is my focus time, kind of like focused call time or work time, which is exactly what it is. And I'm just going to answer all of these questions, and then I'm going to move on. And so what that does for you, that tactical piece first, it allows you to have really set structure so that that group program does not take over your life. And also it helps you kind of train your clients to make the most of your support, because they know, okay, every single day, I know my coach is going to be in here answering my questions. So if I want to make sure I get that support, I'm going to make sure I ask it before they come in, and I'm going to ask it in the best way possible based on the expectations they've set for me that we talked about earlier in this video for what they're going to answer, what's the best way to ask questions, and how to get the best support possible. What that also does when you do these things is the other piece, which is mental. It gives you peace of mind. The area where I see a lot of group program coaches struggle is that because they're taking on more people, supporting more people, and really having that group environment, you can kind of get in your head a little bit where you might start thinking, oh my gosh, if I don't go and check on my group constantly, what if there's an update? What if someone's unhappy? What if people get really unhappy? And then, so it just creates this really horrible cycle that's going on. By the way, I don't know if you can hear sirens in the background. It's New York City. There are always sirens. So that's just kind of the background music that we work with. Anyways, back to this. So what you want to do when you're able to set those actual physical boundaries and your clients know exactly when to expect you and what to expect, they feel supported. They know they're going to be taken care of. There is no unhappiness. There is no, oh my gosh, I'm not getting the support I need. They understand you are committed to showing up for them daily or whatever time frame that you committed to, and they're going to get everything they need. And when they know that, you as the coach have that peace of mind of knowing, okay, we've got this understanding. There's not going to be any miscommunication. There's not going to be anyone saying, oh my gosh, you're not in here 24/7 and I'm so unhappy about that. No, they understand what the boundary is. They understand they're going to get everything they need. And that gives you the peace of mind. Like, oh, if I'm in here, I'm 1,000% in here. My clients get all my time and focus. I'm not doing anything else. Then after that, my clients have gotten what they need, I move on. That is the best way I have found to have the best peace of mind for yourself as a coach. And I've been doing this for quite a while. I've coached at this point well over 1,000 people through my group programs and one-on-one programs. And so I've got a good amount of experience, right? This is something that took a lot of time for me to figure out myself because I was the same way. I would get to this point where I was thinking, oh my gosh, I need to be supporting my clients 24/7. I'm not checking in on them, so they might be really unhappy. And then I started resenting the whole situation, and it's just completely unnecessary when you have it in a really clear-cut, well-defined way. Everyone gets what they need. So I would think through it that way. Then the fourth piece is, I would say the one that a lot of coaches as they scale struggle with the most. And that is having scalable backup support. What I mean by that is depending on how big you want to grow your program and how much free time you want to have outside of coaching, you're probably going to want other backup coaches. I call them program coaches who are supporting you and supporting your clients so that it's not all on you. Now, when you add this in depends on you. I personally, when I do programs less than about 30 people, I like to do it all me. I don't even run that many group programs at this point in my business, but in my first, I would say 5-6 years or so, I did do that a lot. And then if it's any larger than that, I like to bring on program coaches. So here's the thing that a lot of people struggle with. First of all, scaling that support. Because if you're newer to selling group programs and you're not sure how many you're going to be able to sell, how many spots, what if you sell just one spot and you have lined up a whole bunch of program coaches and you've got to pay them? What are you going to do? But if you scale a lot faster than you anticipated and you don't have the support lined up, then you've got to scramble to go out there and find them. So this is what I would do. Decide right now how you're going to have this support. And no matter where you are, it's important to decide right now, because another thing to know is that when you have that knowing of how you're going to scale, it gives you peace of mind to be able to grow. Otherwise, I've seen so many people self-sabotage their growth because they don't have this piece figured out. And so without even realizing it sometimes, they're not allowing themselves to grow because they're thinking, oh my gosh, if I grow, I'm going to be so overwhelmed and I'm not going to be supported. So I've got you covered. So the way I like to think about it is there are two common ways to do group program coaches. So the first way is the way I don't personally prefer, but I'll just share it with you just for thoroughness, is to have program coaches who are going to be mini yous, essentially, who are going to basically do everything that you do, represent your brand, and just be another version of you for a client. And so if you have a group program that does a lot more, let's say one-on-one support in a group setting because it's higher end, then you might have it so that each program coach manages a handful of clients one-on-one. They do maybe some one-on-one calls with them. They're really on top of their one-on-one support. And it feels like essentially they have that one-on-one coach in that group setting without it having to be you. This is done more commonly if you are wanting to grow a really big coaching business and remove yourself from day-to-day coaching. I'm not a big fan of that for many reasons. First of all, because that's not the kind of business I've ever wanted to build, and because I personally do enjoy coaching. These days, even now, when the majority of my revenue comes from courses instead in this business, I still coach a handful of clients a year because I find it really personally fulfilling. And I think it keeps me sharp in terms of teaching and just being connected to my audience. Now, With that said, let me tell you what I personally prefer and always did when I had larger group programs. And that was to have program coaches who specialized in a certain area. So the areas that I taught in and covered in my large group programs were, for example, sales, copywriting, advertising, mindset. I'm sure there's some areas I'm missing. And so I would bring in program coaches that specialized in each of those areas, that had their own career and background experience in those areas already. Often, most of the time, they were people who had already gone through my program, so they had built their businesses using the things that I teach so that they were familiar with my methodology as well. And so they were able to understand the context of the program and answer questions in that context while adding in their own specific experience in that field. And then what that allowed me to do is it kind of allowed me to stay and coach on the areas that I really enjoyed, which is like the high level strategy, thinking, fun marketing, things like that. And then it allowed me to outsource the areas that I didn't enjoy as much. Like, let me review your sales call. Let me look over your copywriting for your website, those things. And so it allowed my clients to get amazing support, have other people who did love giving that kind of support in those areas, and then it allowed me to do what I enjoy and then provide that higher overarching guidance that really tied it all together. That's the way I really like to do it. And so to scale that way, what I would recommend is, first of all, identifying the people that you would want to work with. So you already know, okay, these are the people I'm going to work with as I scale my program, so that you don't have to go and find them when you need them, which is going to be very stressful. Then, based on an estimate for what you think your group size is going to be, you can set it up so that the payment that you're paying a program coach is not going to overextend you if you sell less than you think you will. So starting out, you might just say, hey, I'm going to pay you this much for every single person in the program, so that if I only get one person, you only get this much. And if I know I'm going to get, let's say, a set number between, like, let's say 5 to 10, just to make up a number, I'm going to pay you this much. And if we go over, then we can talk about playing with that number and making sure it's fair to you. That way it's scalable. You're not overpaying and potentially underselling and then on the hook for a lot more than you can afford given the size of the program. Then as you scale, what happens is it becomes easy for you to know, okay, I'm going to have this many people. It's going to be this much work for you. Let's either talk a lump sum, or every X number of people that come in, it's going to be this much extra. That happens just as a result of you doing this a few times, getting that experience, working with these program coaches and knowing that. But that's how I scaled it from just a few people to ultimately, in my largest group programs, a few hundred people. And then that way, what this also allows you to do is, if you have even more people and one program coach in a certain area isn't able to cover all of that, then what you can do is you can bring on more program coaches in that area to support more people. So for me, that feels a lot more scalable and a lot more enjoyable. So those are the areas that I would think through so that you have got it covered. Your clients are creating amazing results, feeling amazingly supported. You are enjoying what you do, and you are feeling fulfilled by the work that you do without feeling overwhelmed and stressed. Now, with that, if you're looking to scale your group program, I'm guessing that you're also wanting to scale your coaching business to 6 and multiple 6 figures. So if that's the case, then I highly recommend that you watch my next video, which I'll put right here, on what it takes to scale your coaching business to multiple 6 figures. I will go ahead and see you in that video.